A possible turning point or just another pause before the escalation? Because right now, behind the closed doors and tense diplomatic channels, reports suggest something surprising. The United States and Iran may be, just may be, exploring indirect talks focused on one of the most dangerous flashpoints in the world, the Strait of Hormuz. So let's slow this down and understand what is at stake here. The Strait of Hormuz is not just any narrow water passage. It is a lifeline of global energy. In fact, about 17 to 18 million barrels of oil passes through this particular corridor every single day. That's nearly 20% of the world's total oil supply, moving through one single choke point on the map. In fact, one disruption, one blockade, and global fuel prices can react, that too within minutes. And this is exactly why this is becoming the center of negotiations. Ladies and gentlemen, according to emerging reports, discussions are now circling around a possible trade-off. If Iran ensures that the Strait of Hormuz remains open for global shipping, then the US could consider reducing or halting certain military operations targeting Iranian-linked sites. But this is where things become politically intense. Donald Trump, according to statements linked to the ongoing discussions, has taken a very firm position. A position that the strait must be open, free, clear, before any meaningful de-escalation can happen. Basically, in simple terms, no stability at sea, no slowdown in the strikes. And that one condition has now turned Strait of Hormuz into the center of global diplomacy. Though not just waterway anymore, but a bargaining chip, and that too in one of the most sensitive geopolitical standoffs of recent years. Now, can you imagine the pressure on the global stage here? Massive. On one side, you have military operations, you have strategic strikes continuing in the background, right? But now look at the other side. On the other hand, urgent talks are trying to prevent a wider regional explosion. And in the middle of all of this, global shipping routes carrying energy to Asia, to Europe, in fact, funny, but to the United States as well. But let's not forget the scale here. Ladies and gentlemen, nearly 1/5 of the global oil supply moves through this particular route every day. Countries like India, countries like China, Japan, South Korea, they depend heavily on it. Even a short disruption can trigger global price spikes, sometimes 8 to 10% within days, as seen in previous Middle East tensions as well. So, the question now becomes bigger than just politics. Is this a real path towards de-escalation, or is this simply a temporary pause in a much larger confrontation that is still unfolding behind the scenes? Because history has shown us something very, very important. Whenever Strait of Hormuz becomes part of negotiations, it is never just about shipping lanes. It's about power. It's about pressure. It's about control over global energy flow. And right now, the world is watching one narrow strait carrying the enormous weight. Basically, a possible deal on paper, a fragile situation in reality, and a question nobody can fully answer yet. Is this the beginning of the end of the conflict, or just another turning point before the next escalation?